Welcome to Hack Your Happiness.
Focus on discipline, not motivation. Motivation is finite. You're not always going to be motivated to do everything. You need to have the discipline, the willingness to get started, to get going, to do it. Push through.
Are you a teen or adult looking for more happiness in every day and ways to connect with people in your life?
You've come to the right place. Hack Your Happiness is a podcast designed to bring you the behind the scenes of what brings iconic individuals happiness, plus their life hacks.
I'm Mercedes.
And I'm Anastasia.
And we're the two teens behind Small Bits of Happiness.
We're interviewing Olympic athletes, entrepreneurs, celebrities, and more.
Throughout all of our episodes, you'll find great conversations, hacks that you can take away and try in your life, inspiration, as well as unique and surprising insights. Hey guys, welcome back to this week's episode of Hack Your Happiness.
Today, Anastasia and I are taking over the podcast to talk about how to maximize your productivity. Because no matter what you're doing in life, whether it's with school, work, maybe you're starting your own business, maybe you're trying to balance friends, family, business, school, work, whatever it is that you're doing with your life, there's always an aspect of time involved, and I feel like there's just never enough of it. We never have enough time. So today we're talking about how you can maximize your productivity, get those things done so that you can have free time and not burn out. So the hacks that we're sharing on the podcast with you today are all hacks that we've discovered ourselves through working on Small Bits of Happiness, our business, through Hack Your Happiness, our podcast, through balancing school and family life and friends and just, all the things that come with life. And so these are all hacks that have really helped us time and time again. They're really, truly a staple in our lives to maximize our productivity.
So a really great tip is, of course, to-do lists, schedules, but the tips that we're sharing today are not just, how to be more productive, but also how to use your time and energy in a better way so you get more done.
Exactly. I feel like to-do lists are, of course, a great hack. I make a to-do list every single night for every single day, and I schedule everything in advance. But I think that is more of a hack to get things done, whereas today's hacks are all centered around how to truly maximize your time and your energy in the most efficient possible way. Today, I think we're really going to be going above and beyond, just getting things done and truly getting into the nitty-gritty ways to maximize your productivity and truly make the most out of your life and your day.
So one of my personal favorite hacks is just kind of having just small progress every day. So for example, if you're starting to build like a website, for example, when we were building the Small Bits of Happiness website, just doing little parts of it.
What I did was I did one page per day. And when you look at a website, it's this big project. It's oh my gosh, all these massive brands have a big website, all these massive magazines or newspapers have a big website. It's there's so much to think about, an about us page, a mission, all the content, everything you want to display, and it's where do I even start? But Small Progress Daily, I worked on one page per day, and suddenly you got a whole website after 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and just having that little progress that you're just constantly chipping away at, and because it takes 66 days to make a habit, I think it's just so powerful, because even though you might have some pushback at the beginning where it's I don't really want to do this, just keep doing it and the progress will just build up. And I think having small baby steps up a giant ladder, just focusing on it, just climbing and one step at a time. Don't look at the whole picture, just focus on what you can do next. And don't be you have to do everything in one day. Just kind of work a little bit at a time.
I think that's the key to avoiding burnout. And we just had an absolutely incredible interview with Jen Fisher on how to prevent burnout. So if you want to hear more about that, for sure check out her episode next. But if you just push, and obviously there's going to be times throughout your life when you're going to have to push through. You have a deadline upcoming, whatever that might be. But overall, if you're constantly pushing yourself and you're I have to do this all today, I have to do this all by the end of the week, you're going to get tired. You're going to get sick of it. You're going to lose interest. You're going to be oh, I don't want to do it anymore. I have a new, fun, fresh idea that I haven't, worked myself at too hard. So if you want to truly maximize your productivity in a longer scale, in a longer time frame, you're gonna have to, break it down into those small bits of progress every single day rather than oh, I'm done all this in one day.
Exactly.
You may as well do it in a little bit longer of a period of time.
And the best part is that you don't need to only do that one thing in the day. For example, what we have is we have like a whole bunch of different parts of Small Bits of Happiness that we work on, but we don't work on, let's say, one thing and a whole bunch of work at that, and then the next day we do something completely different. We do different types of things every day, but we just don't overload on that, like we just kind of try to do a little bit of content prep, a little bit of reaching out to people for interviews,
editing.
Totally.
I just think that it's so much better, at least from what I've learned in my experiences, if you touch on everything. You do your homework, but then you're like, well, this is not due for 2 weeks. This is due tomorrow. I finished what's due in the next, little while. Now I'm going to go work on something else. We have to be efficient with our time, make a small bit of progress daily, and that will truly compound into a lot over time. Also, if you want to track the progress that you're making, I think a really excellent thing to do is write down the small bit of progress you need to make every single day, because I think there's nothing wrong with planning. Absolutely plan. I love to plan everything, but like if you're studying for a final exam, I think that can be really overwhelming for students, because it's like all this content and you need to, refresh it all, and you only have so much time, and you don't want to start studying a month in advance because, well, first of all, you might not know all the content yet, and second of all, you're going to forget. You know how it goes. But what I like to do is write it down. Write down, today I'm going to study this part of my math, and then tomorrow I'm going to study this part of my math, and then the day after that I'm going to study this part, and then I'm going to review it all the day before the exam. Like, write it down. Or when we were creating our Mission Small Bits of Happiness game, there was 100 activities to do to feel happier daily, and some of them we knew right off the bat what we wanted to be. Others we were like, we need to put some research into it, figure out the science behind happiness. So, 5 cards a day, 10 cards a day, it compounds, it adds up quickly, but yet each one maintains that excellent quality. Same with studying. If you're studying for a whole semester worth in one day, you're not going to do quality studying on any of the topics, because you're just trying to get through a list this long. Whereas if you shorten your list and you're studying only a few different, units or topics, you're really going to get that quality time in on everything that you're working on.
And I think we just emphasizing quality over quantity. Absolutely. Because you can have a huge list of stuff you need to get done, like the studying example, or maybe, you're building something and there's just so much work to be done, because it's like that in the beginning when you're trying to get the ball rolling and you're trying to push it, but it's just really heavy. It's just important to know that you don't have to, throw yourself all at once using all your strength, divide it up. And I think that way you'll do even better. And yeah, I think it's just so important to spend more energy on specific parts, making sure it's as good as you can, you understand it to your best ability, and then moving on. And I think especially for studying, the reviewing part, again, is also really important, just to make sure, like, even when you're building a website, just review through everything, make sure you haven't missed anything.
The second hack to maximizing your productivity, I would have to say, is focus on discipline, not motivation. Motivation is finite. You're not always going to be motivated to do everything. You need to have the discipline, the willingness to get started, to get going, to do it, push through, because unfortunately, some days you're going to be tired. Some days you're not going to want to do something. And of course, by all means, maybe that means it's time for a break. Maybe that means today is your day off, rest day. But sometimes it can't be. Sometimes your exam is coming up in 3 days and you just have to keep studying, even if you're not into what it is that you're reviewing. Maybe, you don't feel like doing something, but you have to, whatever it may be. Think about an example in your life that sometimes you don't want to work at. Maybe you don't want to go to your theater practice, but your production is in 2 weeks and you have to rehearse with the team. Maybe you don't want to go to practice with your sports team, but you have to go because, first of all, there's others relying on you, and second of all, it's a team effort and you have to contribute and participate. And so, of course, take breaks, balance it out, but focus on discipline.
Totally.
Focus on creating those habits rather than only being able to do something when you feel like it.
And also, it's really important to think about, before you're doing it, are you going to finish and say, oh, I wish I didn't do that? Or are you going to be like, oh, I'm so happy I did this, even though I was feeling kind of unmotivated. It's just important to get through it, because sometimes, like for example, I think a great example is when you're working out or just kind of maybe going on a walk. It's hard to be like, to push yourself out the door or push yourself to go on a run. But once you're doing it and once it's over, you're like, I'm so happy that I did that. I'm so happy that I was able to, get out of my head. And I think just being comfortable with doing that and knowing that this is how I'm going to feel afterwards. I want that feeling, even though I don't really feel like I want to do this right now. I don't have that motivation.
Exactly.
The best way to build up those productivity habits is to keep going when you're not feeling super motivated. Because of course it's easy when you're motivated. Of course it's easy to be productive when you're feeling motivated. But it's not always going to be easy, and that's okay. Like, do you want to go to school every single day? Probably not. I definitely don't. But you go anyways, and then those days come along when you're excited to go. Maybe there's a fun presentation happening, maybe you're really excited to see your friends, and then you want to go, but you have to keep going and building at it even when you're not feeling super excited.
Totally. I mean, I think, for example, the school example is really great because you know that even though you don't want to go, you're still going. Mm-hmm. And you're kind of like at acceptance and you come to terms with it because you've been doing this. It's a habit, for 5 days a week, or I'm not sure, sometimes schools have a different bit of a schedule. But for the most times, it's 5 days a week, going to school, and you're just kind of used to that. And having that habit, just starting to build it, even maybe if you have one day off the week, or maybe you take the weekend off, that's totally fine. Breaks are super important, but just building the habit of saying, okay, well, I'm going to work these days, even if I don't feel like it, even though I wake up in the morning and I'm saying, maybe I want to sleep in, I kind of just want an extra break day, just saying, let's just push through it, accept it, and you're gonna feel so much better once you finish it. One of my favorite hacks for being more productive is the just do it mindset. And a great example of this is, when it's like a cold lake, it's the summertime, and it's like a super cold lake or a cold pool, and you're slowly dipping your toes, you're slowly getting your body in, and every single time that you push yourself in a bit more, you get the same feeling over again. It's so cold. But when you just dive in, just jump right into it, you feel cold, you feel like extremely cold for, a minute or two, and then all of a sudden you feel so much better, and because your body has adjusted. And it's the same thing with getting your work done. So when you have your to-do list, and in the morning, or after you come back from school, or when you need to do it, don't just slowly start to do something, then stop, go on TikTok, and start doing it again. I'm totally guilty of that. It happens to all of us. But try your best to just get through it and just jump in, get through the tasks, and it'll be so much easier to do that than to constantly, get in 2 words if you're writing something and then scroll a bit on TikTok and then get right back into it. Just focusing. Just
jump right into it. Don't be waiting until, again, that motivation hits you. Don't be waiting until the right time. Don't be waiting until you're feeling less tired or your friends are done texting, because you know what? There are a million different excuses we can come up with. There are a million different things. Well, now I need to go and do this. And now, my friend is messaging me. And, now I want to, look through my camera roll and relive fun memories. And, now I'm tired. Now it's time for a snack. There's always something else you could be doing.
Totally.
But at the same time, it's that just do it mindset, rather than slowly dipping your feet into the water and feeling that cold and that kind of negative reaction every single time, and it's prolonged. Just get right into it. Don't procrastinate.
Feel the
just
sting
get into
fast.
it. Yeah, and it will be a bit uncomfortable at first. Maybe you're gonna, not want to do your work. You're not gonna want to be at your sport practice. You're not gonna want to be at your, theater practice or your music practice, whatever it is. But once you are there, it's so much easier to keep going.
Totally, because you're already doing it. You're already, I'm halfway through. I'm just gonna keep going. I know I sometimes get this. It's hard for me to do my runs because I try to run at least 3 times a week, and sometimes it's hard because I really don't want to do it. But as soon as, I get my shoes on and I'm on the tread, it's just so much easier to just do it and just stop procrastinating, stop saying, oh, let me just get some water first and let me get this. Totally get your water. But don't just start procrastinating. Just get it done. Don't even think about it as much. Just go. Just go. I know that sometimes we overthink it, and I think overthinking can be totally one of our biggest nemesis because we're like, oh, but I have this going on and my friend's talking to me about this and, maybe I need to respond to this person. Just don't even think about it. Just if you're going on a run, don't think, oh, let me just go and do this. Oh, I don't really want to do it. Just say, I'm going on a run, block out all the other thoughts, and just hop on.
Exactly. A really great hack, if you're looking at your to-do list or you're thinking about what you got to do today and you're so overwhelmed, you're thinking, there's so many things, these are all going to take me so much time to do, I have to study, I have to clean my room, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have an event at 5, whatever it might be. If you're looking at your to-do list and you're feeling overwhelmed, just do it. Pick the task that will take the least amount of time. Is there anything on there that will take you less than 2 minutes to get done, less than 5 minutes to get done? Start with those tasks, clear them out of the way, check them off, feel great, you've gotten it into your to-do list, you've made a dent, you're in the water, and then you're on a roll, you're kind of, you're feeling productive, you're getting that positive, feeling of, I'm making a dent in my to-do list, I'm doing something with my day, and it's so much simpler to keep going. So that's a really great way to kind of jump into the water, is to start with the simplest tasks and those that don't take you a ton of time. So whenever you're looking at your to-do list, try to start with the tasks that take the least amount of time or the ones that you're the most excited to do. Like, for example, if you're really, really excited to maybe you're really excited to clean out your closet and this is on your to-do list for the day and you're really excited to look through your clothes, just start with that, because if you're excited to do it, it's easier to get into your list and get on that roll that way.
Totally. And I think personally, what I love to do is almost make it a little bit more enjoyable. For example, if you have a good study playlist or something, but also make sure it doesn't become a distraction. For example, if you love having music on while you're, studying, but you find yourself constantly looking over at your phone to change the song, and then when you're changing the song, you start to be like, oh, it's okay to take a little break and scroll a bit on TikTok or, check out what's going on Instagram, and that totally happens. But if it seems like it's becoming a distraction, it might be a good idea to put your phone away, to, focus just doing it, even though you don't have music on in the background or you don't have your favorite show playing. Sometimes it's just good, and even use that as leverage for a reward. That's what I do sometimes to myself. If I really don't want to do something, just say, I will do that as soon as I finish, maybe this thing, or if I finish my whole to-do list, I'll take, 30 minutes or an hour, and I'll just sit back and I'll watch one of my episodes of my favorite show. And it also becomes so much more motivating at that point, because you're doing all these things that you need to do, and you have an end result that is positive.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Hack Your Happiness.
Be sure to follow this podcast to join the happiness family, and you can follow it on any platform that you're listening on.
Also, please leave a 5-star review. It really helps us out, and we really appreciate it. See you next time!